friends, it's Deanna here today, and today we're going to be making the Snowflake jumper. This is a super cute pattern. It's got straps, it's got the option of ruffles, which I'll do so I can show you how to do those. It's got a gusset if needed, so I'll show you that too. You can do elastic or cuffs at the ankles. It is super cute, and I'm excited to do it, so let's get to it. Alright, so for our first step, we're going to grab our back and our front, and we're going to put it right side up on our mat. For this one, I'm using double brush poly because it's got really good stretch, and I just love double brush poly so much. And we're going to match up those raw edges on the sides, side raw edges. And we're going to pin, and then we're going to sew those raw edges. You know how I like to do a couple of things at the time? So the next step is going to be actually to grab our waistband and put it right sides together at that raw edge, the short raw edge. So I'm also going to go ahead and sew that one up so it's ready for me to attach on our following step. Now that my sides have been sewn together and my waistband's sewn together, I'm gonna go ahead and clip these because I'm gonna run over them with my machine when I sew them together, so it will be fine. I'm gonna turn my bottoms right side out, and I'm going to mark my halves by going, these are my sides, so I'm gonna go to the front and mark it, and to the back. And what I like to do is I just like to hit a little notch that I'm gonna eat. It's no bigger than my seam allowance, but it helps me mark so that later I don't get confused by where I'm supposed to go. So I grab my band and I'm gonna fold it wrong sides together, and I'm gonna match those raw edges, and I'm gonna do it to the whole thing, and then I'm gonna go ahead and also quarter my band because then we're going to attach it to our bottoms. Make sure your raw edges are even. All right, we're gonna go from the back to the front, and that's gonna be our 1/4. Then we're gonna match our front and backs together, and we're gonna go to our sides. And then we're gonna go ahead and match up all those raw edges together, and we're gonna sew them on, leaving a gap. So we're gonna attach, match those quarter points, and then when we're sewing, we're gonna stretch so that they fit just alike. See how I'm kind of stretching the band a little bit so that they're even. And also we're gonna sew around the whole thing, but we're gonna leave like a 2-inch gap right here anywhere where you can fit in your elastic, where we'll put our elastic for our waistband. So let's go ahead and sew it. All right, now we're gonna grab our elastic, and make sure you look at your chart for the size of your elastic, and we're gonna go right through that gap that you left open, and we're going to fit our elastic in and go all the way around, fitting our elastic in there. Once our elastic is all the way in, we can go ahead and overlap it. We're gonna overlap it at the end, 1/2 inch, and then I'm gonna go over to my sewing machine and just do a zigzag stitch back and forth on top of my elastic. So zigzag stitch up, back, and forth. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that, and we'll move on to our next step. All right, as you can see, I zigzag stitch it all the way. Just really made sure that it's gonna stay on there nicely. And then I'm gonna even it out all the way around. And then I'm gonna go back over here to the spot where I left that gap. I'm just gonna go right over my serger and sew right over that. But I'm gonna do that at the same time that I'm going to work on my gusset. So I'm gonna grab my pant, and I'm gonna find my center back. And I'll do that is by matching those legs and going up to the side. Now, okay, I am going straight to the gusset because I'm not doing the elastic ankles. But if you are doing the elastic ankle, you would do that right now. You would fold and put your elastic in there and get it all ready. I'm going to go do the cuffs on it, so that's why I'm moving on. I'm gonna grab my gusset, and I'm gonna fold it in half, And I'm also gonna mark my half. I'm gonna mark my half on both sides, so that way when I go to sew it on the other side as well, it's already on there, so I won't be like, ooh, where's my half? Actually, let me go ahead and do it for both sides on my bottoms, because you're gonna sew it to both sides, so you wanna make sure that they're even everywhere. Now I'm gonna turn my pant wrong side out. That way I can match my gusset together, right sides together, and I'm gonna match them right there in that middle area. And then what I'm gonna do is the gusset's gonna go down, those sides of the gusset's gonna go down all the way along the raw edge, matching those those sides together to one side, and then they're gonna do the same to the other side, going down to the other side, just all the way around. Now, the gusset is to give you that extra little room that you need a lot of times, like, you know, for diaper, for the baby. So that's what's really good about the gusset. But as you can see, it's just gonna be sewn those raw edges together. So we're gonna go like around the whole thing, sewing it together. You can use a stretch stitch on your sewing machine. I'm just gonna go ahead and use my serger, just like I've used the serger for everything else. And then I'll go ahead and close that gap at the same time. All right, now that its gap is closed and my gusset is sewn to one side, as you can see right here, it is sewn. Now we're gonna grab our other side and we're gonna match up the gusset to that point that I made in the bottom, and then we're going to go around, pulling it down so that it matches, those raw edges are matching all the way down to the end of my pant, my jumper bottom. And I'm gonna do the same for the other side. This is just adding a little bit of extra area for like diaper, bulky diaper right there. Okay, make sure that right here where the seam is, you catch it so it doesn't give you a hole right there. I like to pin it as I'm sewing. Ooh, that one's bent down. As I'm sewing it, I like to, like, you know, make sure it's straight. So you gotta make really sure that it's all getting cut in there. All right, now I'm gonna go ahead and show you what we're gonna do next is gonna work on the ankle cuffs. So we're gonna sew those raw edges right there, right sides together. So I'm gonna go do that to my ankle cuffs as well. That way they're prepared for our next step, which will be adding them on. I went ahead and sewed our gusset and I have no gaps. Always make sure that there's no gaps. So there it is. So now I'm gonna turn my fabric, my bottoms right side out. And as you can see, that's my back, that's my front. You can see right here my leg. I'm gonna fold and find my quarters. So I'm gonna match up those two seams and go to the front and the back. And you know what? You don't even have to do that. A lot of times I just use, you know, especially the smaller ones, just use the two sides. I'm gonna grab my little cuff that I made, folded wrong sides together, matching those seams right here, and then matching all the raw edges at the top. And I'm going to, so you can go ahead and find that half, and I'm going to go ahead and fit my cuff inside my leg. Well, not my leg, but the jumper's leg. That would not fit around my leg. It's so tiny. And then I'm gonna match up over here on the other side. And then we're gonna go ahead and sew all the way around the whole thing, stretching the cuff lightly so that it'll match all the way around. So I'm gonna do that for both. All right, these are looking super, super cute. And honestly, you could just make them like this and they would be just the perfect little baby pants anyway, just because they look adorable. But we're gonna go ahead and add the straps, and that's even gonna be even more adorable. I am not adding buttons, I'm just gonna put them right on. But if you're adding buttons, all the instructions are on the page. But what I'm gonna do too is I'm also gonna encase my ruffle in because I'm using a thinner fabric. So I'm doing the encasing method. If you're not encasing, you would go ahead and fold your straps and sew, and then you would put your ruffle on top if you have really bulky fabric. But I have double brush poly, so it's really thin. So I'm gonna go over to my sewing machine and put in a gathering stitch along the top of the ruffle to gather it so it'll fit into my strap. So I am going to be using a long straight stitch on my sewing machine, so I'm going to put it on a 4, and I'm going to remember to do the straight edge. Just going to place my flutter underneath there and place it down and go, and we're going to sew. Make sure you leave a long strap at the back of it where you're going to pull that gathering stitch. Okay, remember not to back stitch and then pull another long at the end. All right, so what you can do is you can mark your strap. Here's my dot where my flutter is supposed to end. So I'm going to mark my strap. That way I know just how much I need to gather my flutter. I'm gonna pull the bobbin thread and gather that flutter. Once it's the width of that I need it, I'm going to even out those ruffles. And then I'm gonna put them right sides together against the raw edges. All right, and we're gonna do the same for the other strap. All right, now usually well, not usually, but sometimes I recommend you go ahead and baste them on first before you go to sew. If you worry that they're gonna move, but if not, then just, you're gonna grab your other side and you're gonna put it right on top. So we're gonna go ahead and just move those clips to right on top of each other. I don't know if I mentioned, but it is recommended if you're using fabric that's gonna stretch out a lot to use some interfacing on the strap so that they don't like stretch out and they look all, you know, they get super long because they're stretched out as the baby's wearing it. But I did not add that to mine. But you just would add it according to manufacturer's instructions on your interfacing, your knit interfacing. Now I'm gonna go over to my serger and I'm gonna sew those together. You can use your serger or some kind of stretch stitch to sew them together. All right, so now we're gonna turn our straps all the way around, and it will turn. If you have a turning tool, it comes super handy right now. And you wanna go ahead and remove, if you wanna go ahead and remove those basting stitches, you can do that right now, or you can do that at the end. I also like to go ahead and steam my straps down so they lay nice and flat and cute. I love, love, love this little flutter. I think it looks so, so, so nice. All right, now once they're turned and steamed, we're gonna we're gonna go to the front and find our point. We're gonna measure 2 3/8, and we're gonna place our straps right side of our strap onto the wrong side of our jumper, and make sure that your flutters are facing out that side. And then we're going to do the same for the other side. 2 3/8. Okay. And then we're going to go ahead and sew right top stitch and then top stitch at the bottom right on that seam right there for that side. And then we're gonna turn it around and we're gonna bring him up and measure from the middle. This is my seam, so that's my center. 2 3/8. Again, the right side of the strap touching. And see, I'm not doing buttons, but if you're doing buttons, you would measure the same and put your buttons on there. And then the other strap comes right over it and measure again. I got it right on the spot. And then I moved it, of course. Okay. And I'm gonna do the same thing on this one. Go ahead and top stitch and top stitch. And we will be done. I just have to top stitch. All right, turn those bottoms all the way, right side out. And we're going to trim all these little pieces. We will be done. Now, this looks really super cute with the buttons, but like I said, if you didn't want to do, I still have some basting stitches that I need to get out. But if you didn't want to do the buttons, it looks just as cute without the buttons. I think sometimes I just kind of worry about the buttons, so I don't always do them. But they are super, super, super cute. Look, my goodness. Get all this stuff off. Look at how cute they are. I love them. I hope you love this tutorial. I hope you love your jumper. Please let me know if you have any questions about anything that I did. Please comment, like, share, subscribe if you haven't. Comment and subscribe so you can be entered for a fun fan giveaway of $50 Ellie and my gift certificate, which we do monthly. It's a random draw, so you could be the winner. And come find us on Instagram and YouTube so you can share, YouTube, this is YouTube. Come find us on Instagram or Facebook so you can share your makes with us and you can see what everybody else is making and you can get inspired. I hope you have a great rest of your day and I'll see you all next time.